If your only experience of Kuboraum is posters, spikes and burnt acetate, then you don't actually know Kuboraum. And that's exactly why I'm making this two-part series, because we're going to demystify, in my opinion, one of the most misunderstood names in modern eyewear.
You're now tuned in to the Optical Gallery.
If you're new to the channel, I'm Nick, creator of eyewear, lens artist and dispensing optician at the Optical Gallery. And I want to take you back to 2018, Silmo Paris, my first overseas trade show. Hundreds of exhibitors and the biggest hall I'd ever walked into. I had a list of 6 brands I wanted to see, but deep down I already knew which one I was hunting. There was this brand that had fascinated me for years, but honestly, I found it intimidating. I remember seeing the point of sale visuals, piercings on frames, spikes, burnt acetate, textures that looked like they were forged in a Berlin warehouse. As a creative person, I can stare at those pieces all day, but I still said to myself, those are really incredible, but who actually wears this stuff? What I didn't realise is that what you see from a distance is only one slice of the story. I walked into the Kuboraum booth and I sat down with my rep at the time, and that booth had an energy unlike anything I'd felt in optics. Not luxury, not fashion, something raw and something human. He started to explain the brand, the story, the philosophy, the way the collections are designed and the way they name their series. And suddenly, all the pieces clicked into place. And that's why I'm making this video, because if I could misunderstand Kuboraum from the outside, then there must be thousands of people that have done the same. People who only know the brand through extreme posters and rare custom colorways. The burnt acetate, the hammered textures, the sculptural one-off editions. Yes, those pieces exist. They're supposed to. They're part of the mythology, but they're not the whole brand. And I've even heard people call Kuboraum unwearable, which isn't fair, especially from people who've never held the everyday pieces, never tried the more refined lines, never understood the spirit behind the masks. So in this two-part series, I'm going to give Kuboraum their flowers they deserve. Because this is a brand that rebels against everything eyewear was, and creates something that feels like it has a soul. And that soul belongs to the founders Livio and Sergio. Their spirit, their ideology, their lifestyle of living art. From soundscape experiments to their sister brand Unwearable, all of it pours straight back into Kuboraum. This brand is not designed, it's expressed. To understand Kuboraum, you have to understand where it came from. 2012, Berlin. But not Berlin polished and modern, Berlin raw and divided. An old post office that used to sit on the border of East and West. A building literally caught between identities. The Italian duo, Livio the sculptor and Sergio the anthropologist, took this abandoned space and transformed it into a studio, a showroom, a creative laboratory, and the location wasn't accidental. Berlin is an island. Culturally, it's a universe of its own, a place where difference isn't hidden, is celebrated. Kuboraum absorbed that energy immediately. Livio and Sergio didn't approach eyewear like designers, they approached it like sculpture. They travelled the world, observed tribes, rituals, ceremonies, studied how different cultures use masks for protection, identity and transformation. They mixed ancient craftsmanship with futuristic ideas. They hammered acetate, burned textures, carved imperfections intentionally, because scars tell the truth. The idea of a mask became literal, not to hide you, but to reveal you, to amplify who you are, to give you presence, identity and confidence. The mask is never the point, you are. And their slogan captures it perfectly. Dreamed in Berlin, made in Italy. Berlin is the heartbeat, expressive, untamed, emotional. Italy is the craftsmanship, precision, technical, world class. It's rare to see those two worlds collide this seamlessly. I'll never forget the moment my rep presented the first full collection to me. After years of seeing the extreme posters, I genuinely expected something chaotic, maybe even dangerous. Instead, he placed the K series in front of me, and I stopped. Because where I expected chaos, I profound clarity. Glistening acetates, bold structured shapes, architectural lines, sculptural block layers, and yet truly wearable forms. Not quiet, not subtle, but confidently wearable. The kind of energy that belongs to people who don't need to try to be cool. They simply are. And as I handled them, I realised this wasn't design, this was sculpture expressed through eyewear. The French weren't doing this, the Japanese masters of precision weren't doing this, and even within Italy, Kuboraum existed in a lane entirely its own. A lane carved from anthropology, culture, identity, experimentation and art. And then the craftsmanship hit me. Every edge razor sharp yet perfectly polished, every bevel deliberate, every transition intentional, every texture meaningful. This wasn't mass production, this was identity carved into material. Kuboraum never wanted frames to set a trend, they wanted frames to fit you. And that's why their pieces don't have names, they have letters. KHP, ENSXJZ, a secret alphabet of personalities. Every series its own dialect, every vocabulary expressing who you are. Some are wearable, some expressive, some avant-garde, and a few pure art sculptures. And before I wrap up part 1, I want to make something very clear. When I say some Kuboraum series are wearable, I don't mean everyone should go and wear them. I'm not here to promote, I'm speaking as someone who genuinely loves this brand. And that doesn't mean you will, and that's completely fine. But if you're intrigued and you've ever looked at these frames and thought, these look incredible, but who the hell is actually wearing these? Then part 2 is going to make the picture much clearer. Because every brand creates with an ideal wearer in mind. That's what gives them their DNA. And you might not be their ideal wearer, but that's part of what makes eyewear interesting. The point is, people do wear Kuboraum. I'm wearing one now. Unwearable? Questionable. Misunderstood? Absolutely. So in part 2, we're going to dive deep into each series of Kuboraum, from the everyday wearable pieces to the avant-garde and the full-blown art sculptures that define their mythology. And as usual, if you want to hear more about our eyewear exhibitions, limited drops or new lens technologies, head over to www.opticalgallery.co.uk and subscribe to our newsletter at the bottom of the page. It's the best way to stay ahead of everything we do before it hits social media. Until next time, protect your eyes, look good doing it, and peace!